Yeah, hey, what's up, guys? I'm Ashley Sloggett, and I'm here today to represent Skylights Steelworks, which is a um, unique kind of studio in that we aren't one permanent fixture with a brick and mortar. We kind of are a site liaison down at the decommission portion of Stelco, which is very unique in that no one in history has ever been allowed to film there. And then Skylite came on as that expert in venue coordination. And I started working with them, and the rest is history. Here we are.
Nice. I'm Christoph Benfey, and I'm here today to represent Evil Empire Studios, which is kind of my newest venture into the studio world. I've had a few different production companies here over the years since I've been at Hamilton, but this is kind of my first venture into providing something that's bigger than just me. So, what we're hoping to do with Evil Empire right now, it's just a big empty building, that works as kind of whatever it needs to be for any productions that come into town. And we have tunnels and we have a cellar and a bunch of empty space basically, but ultimately what we want it to be is kind of a hub for the film industry in Hamilton. So there'd be co-working and studios and hot desks and offices and a little restaurant and stuff like that, just to kind of make it an inviting place for people who are in the film industry to meet up and connect on a regular basis. But yeah, we're in the very early stages with that. It's still just a dream, but we actually do have a brick and mortar location. It's in a old hydro building on Victoria, just on the other side of the street from the General Hospital. And yeah, if anybody ever wants to come check it out, definitely let me know.
Nice. Hi guys, I'm Zach from Hamilton Film Studios, and we're just around the corner from Christoph actually, and we got a little spot here downtown. We got one studio space, kind of an empty warehouse, and then on the side we do a lot of your rentals, tents and pylons and stuff like that. And then we have an expendable store all attached to us, which has become quite busy over the last couple of years. And we now just entered our third year of business, and super happy to be part of the Hamilton scene. It was a dream for us too, and it's slowly coming together still after 3 years. So, but no, super happy to be here. Honored to be invited to a panel like this, and yeah, we're having fun. Thanks, Nate.
I was just there yesterday, Zach.
Yeah.
I used honestly, I'm so happy that you guys exist because I think the big stumbling block for productions really using Hamilton as like a satellite to Toronto instead of like the back lot, you know what I mean, was there wasn't like the infrastructure to support large productions. And then when you guys started offering location support and expendables so that, some PA doesn't have to drive to Markham to get like snot tape.
That's it. Yeah.
It's a game changer. And like I was talking to, I think, Mark at your studio yesterday of like, the more of us that pop up, the more studios, the more we can like make hammy wood. You know what I mean? Like that's my dream. I'm like, I don't want to have to try and get a green card.
Yeah.
Let's get here.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Thank you, Ashley, for saying that. And I heard you were in yesterday. I'm sorry I missed you, but
yeah.
So that was it for me. I was a technician for a long time, and coming to Hamilton to shoot, we were always, exactly that, sending people to Toronto for snot tape and gels and such like that. So I finally convinced a couple of my partners. I tricked them into starting the store with me, and the rest is history. So thank you for saying that. It's been good.
Yeah. No, it's huge. So yes, thank you. 6-foot folding table, amazing. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries.
Have you guys been busy? You guys getting some shoots in? What about you, Christoph? We haven't chatted in a while.
Yeah, it was pretty busy summer. I mean, as you know, I shot a TV show in the spring and into the summer, and we used HFS location services and the Expendables store. It's so handy having it close by. And then I took a bit of a sabbatical for the second half of the summer to kind of recover from that TV show and now we're
Good.
gearing up for another feature, so we'll be talking soon
Yeah.
for location stuff, because I start another feature at the end of the month that'll take me to Christmas basically. And yeah, so in the meantime, I've just been kind of hunkering down and focusing on all of the Evil Empire stuff that got neglected while I was so busy on the TV show. But yeah, we brought in a new partner who's kind of picking up a lot of the because basically I was doing everything up until
Yeah.
recently, and we have a new partner now, Bonner, who's super gung ho and is helping out with organizing everything and figuring out the financing and all the kind of stuff that I don't like to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been kind of focusing on that, and then hopefully it'll be kind of a well-oiled machine by the time I get back into feature land again in a couple weeks. So
That's awesome.
yeah, how about you?
Yeah. I'm absolutely nothing without my partners, man. Like, I couldn't get anything on myself, honestly. Like, maybe come up with a few ideas and then spin my tires, but it's really good to bring someone in. You can't do everything. Nobody can. So
No, yeah,
tough. Good stuff.
It's crazy. Like we do a lot of the big shows that have like I was saying earlier to Christoph, like you need a post-apocalyptic, like Blade Runner-esque set. There's probably somewhere within Skylight Steelworks, within the Stelco grounds that applies to that. You drive over the Skyway and, it's like Mordor. You look and you're like, what does it look like in there? Unless you have me or you've worked in there or whatever. But like, it's always been this like elusive thing, right? So then like when we take location managers through and they're like, sensory overload of just like, oh my God, it's so cool. And then we try and figure out like, okay, well, how can we get them to shoot here? Because the plant is still operational, make that work. But like, you're right. It's for us, we're a team of 3 and we just hired on a couple other part-timers because my boss actually, she is on mat leave now. So, and she's like, oh my God, I have to give you guys the keys to the castle. And there's so much. And I like couldn't imagine doing what I do for like a full-time studio brick and mortar where every day you're like trying to do your own creative stuff for the business, but then you're also doing tours and selling and bringing LMs through and trying to figure out like, how to make their production go smoothly and like things I would never know about, like parking and potties and like those kind of things, right? It's
so much to it. Yeah. It's hard to think.
Yeah.
Actually, how did you guys get to come to take over that space at Stelco, and how did that come to be? Because you were mentioning that nobody else has ever been able to shoot there before.
Yeah, so I guess the president it really loves film. He's very big into art and film, and I mean, our industry from the outside is very glossy. You guys know that. Like everyone thinks it's so glamorous and until you're inside on set for 16 hours, like in the freezing cold, and you're like, when are my subs up? But, so he was getting all these calls, and they get the calls all the time. Hey, how do I film there? How do I film there? And then eventually he discovered Skylite, who we're actually an American company. Don't hold it against us. But we're based out of New York. And our kind of business model is that we are like a venue reimagining business, more so than a studio, right? Where we take things that are like decommissioned or whatever, and we figure out how to repurpose them for arts and entertainment. So it's a very niche thing. And he was like, oh, you can be our middleman. So that's how we got in there. And then I think the first show we did there was Star Trek Discovery, I think. Yeah, the one before the one that just came out. And that was sort of the like test run. And, they were not prepared for what comes with film in terms of like the circus, the trucks and the tech moves and the safety and all of that, because the thing about Stelco is they are so safety heavy. Their answer is always like, they're amazing. They say like, nothing is a no as long as we can do it safely. So that's been a huge thing and a big learning curve for me of understanding like, oh yeah, I guess we need to figure out like, the logistics of getting people from A to B safely and da 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 da. Like, I don't know. I was an actress, like, you know what I mean? So these aren't things that I really, lost sleep over. But yeah, so that's how we got in there. And it's been like just a whirlwind ever since. And I mean, it's been a little slow the last month or two. Just I think that's the industry in general. Have you guys found that? Like, has it been like it has kind of tapered off a little bit?
October was slow for us. October, I think, was our slowest months of the year. I think the looming strike kind of put everything just on a pause for a second.
That's exactly it. That's what I said.
Yeah, like there might have been some stuff greenlit, but nobody was kind of going ahead and getting going just in case of the strike.
Yeah.
And now November has like just come back tenfold. Like I think already, what are we on the 12th or halfway through the month? And I think we've kind of hit all the numbers we want to hit already for November.
That's great.
Just in terms of like,
amazing.
So yeah, it kind of lulled up, and now we'll see. We'll see. The unions say they're still kind of slow.
Yeah.
But the indie world is churning along in Hamilton. As always. That's really our bread and butter is the smaller shows, is the just constantly one after the other. Christmas movies coming through, and it's been good. So, yeah, that's it. And there's they're good. They're great. Like, I mean, they're great for town. I find the bigger shows, and maybe I'll get a little bit too political here, but I find the bigger shows like to bring everything from Toronto to Hamilton, and they don't shop a lot here. They don't. Even the caterers come from the big city sometimes, and that's what I like about the smaller shows. They pay all their location fees here in Hamilton, and they get their food and their gas and all their gear as much as they can. So I find that's a really there's Mike Bruce. Look at that.
Hey guys.
Hey.
How are you?
Nice to see you.
You're 100% right in that, like, they just bring everything from the city. And that's sort of where, like, for me, not being like part of any specific production beyond my like indie show, this is the thing, what's up? But yeah, we, I think, how do we get them to spend local? Like, that's kind of my mentality. It's funny. So Mike, who was in the panel earlier, Mike Mitchell. So he's the EP on the show that I work on outside of Skylite. And they're actually opening a studio on the mountain. And I said, you need to come to this panel and meet the other studios because, like we were saying earlier, the more of us there is, the better it is. And then maybe we can like strong arm the Toronto productions to spend their money here and buy their tape here and do their rentals here, right? Like, how do we do that?
More and more. Sorry, I don't think I met you before. I'm Mike from Aeon Studio Group.
Hi, Mike. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Nice to put a face to the name.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you are?
I'm Ashley from Skylight. We're down at the Stelco,
Right. You know what? We met very, very briefly one time. I was going to talk to a friend of mine, and you wouldn't let me in.
I knew your name sounded familiar. There you go. It's Fort Knox down there.
Yeah. What? That's great. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's like, sorry for jumping into the conversation late, but I think it's becoming more and more of a thing for productions to, be willing to spend money and plant themselves in Hamilton. The first show we had in our studio was the first ever IATSE show to fully base out of Hamilton from front to end, studio, production offices, the whole thing. And the amount of phone calls I got from the different crew members that are moving west and migrating out towards Burlington, Hamilton, just, trying to figure out what's going on next in the city because they want to work in Hamilton. We've been talking to, like a bunch of different equipment companies. We have a couple different deals going on with some suppliers, and obviously HFS has been amazing to deal with Zach and the guys, for all the stuff that they can provide. But I feel like next year is going to be the year that I think Hamilton really kind of, puts the pin in the map and puts us on the board of big players. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I think so.
Can I ask what show that was? Are you allowed to say?
Yeah, they're done and gone, and I think it comes out in the new year. It was Firestarter. Was Zac Efron?
Oh yeah. They did
Yeah.
a couple satellite shots up in Burlington. I live in Burlington, and they were up at Dundas. It's all
That's
in
right.
the news, Burlington Post, But,
Yeah.
oh, that's
right.
amazing. I didn't know it was 100% Hamilton based. That's so good.
Yeah, which is amazing, and a chunk of the crew was local. If not Hamilton proper, like the
Dundas, Sancaster.
Yeah, it was amazing. So
that's so good. I would love to come down and see the spot, because like when we heard you guys were launching, it was like, yes, like a big studio in Hamilton, and like all the indies is amazing because we need that. But it's like, if we can cater to all the tiers, then it's all of us succeed, right? It's like
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And I think, you know what, that's the key. Sorry, I know somebody was about to jump in there. I apologize for cutting you off, but I think that is the key right there, is that we all need to stick together and support each other.
Oh, 100%.
Because right now we kind of rule the roost, which, it's not ego driven, it's success driven. And I think that everybody involved has a really good mindset with regards to how to, grow the industry, kind of holistically and from the ground up. And so I think that's very, very important that we all stick together and support each other.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But anytime you want, I welcome you guys anytime.
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, that's a big one for us too, Mike. Obviously, we've chatted so much, and Christoph as well. I mean, we've always been right from the start. Let's stick together. Let's make this happen. There's no need for competition amongst us. There's no need for any animosity at all.
Oh yeah,
it's true, Ashley. Like, the more shoots that come here, the more they just trickle down, and each and every of us, gets part of that. So.
Well, you look at places like, that's how, I mean, like, granted, they had the landscape for it, but like Atlanta, that popped up as a film hub in the last 15 years. And like before that, it was like a remote location that you flew out to. Now they have studios and infrastructure, and now they're a hub. So it's like, it's only a matter of time. And, there's enough to go around for sure.
Yeah. No, I think HFS is the oldest here, and we're only 3. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So
babies.
I think our Star Trek shoot was 2019 was our first shoot there at Skylite. Yeah.
You miss Momoa?
What's that?
Do you miss Jason Momoa?
I do. I miss him so much. I wish he came. I wish he would be here like all the time, because that means that I'm working.
Right.
That's like such a Hamiltonian too, really deep down. You're like,
oh yeah, he's great.
Sure you're not from here? Yeah. He's awesome.
Yeah, he loves because he does all the climbing and stuff. So there's a lot of really cool places around the plant that have like, rusty walls with pegs and stuff, and he just goes to town. He's like, oh my God, can I take this home with me? Can I have this wall? And I'm like, it might be a little expensive to ship, but but
That's
yeah, awesome. Oh, it's good. So do you guys, like, when people find you, what's your like lead generation? Like, do you guys find that people come to you? Do you like outsource to other location managers in terms of like reaching out? What does that look like for you guys?
Well, speaking for Aeon, I've been a location manager for 20 years, and I also have a studio in Etobicoke called Studio 550. We've had Big Brother Canada in there for the last 5 or 6 years, but for the longest time, like one of the big things and one of our mandates is to open studios of scale, sort of thing, because up until just recently, like Studio 550 was one of, I think, 2 or 3 studios that had 30,000 square feet of clear span, no columns, high ceiling,
Mhm.
everything. And now
Yeah.
it's coming on more and more, but a lot of our workflow comes through, my history as a studio owner in Etobicoke, and then as a location manager, that sort of thing. And then just one of our partners is a producer as well. So he has a pretty solid pipeline of contacts in the industry as well. He just and we do like regular trips to Los Angeles and to some of the markets and stuff to just keep a fresh a fresh skin on the relationships, I guess. It's
Yeah.
the best way to. But
Yeah.
what about you guys?
Yeah, for us, we're mostly, people find us. They, they want to shoot somewhere industrial, somewhere, decrepit.
Yeah.
We rely a lot on Ontario Creates, but yeah, we've also built up some really good relationships with location managers as well.
Yeah.
And again, before I started working with Skylite, like I knew nothing about locations except that they were the first in, the last out, and the most underappreciated department on a film set, right?
You do know us.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, no, I know.
That sums it up.
Yeah.
Yep.
And now I'm like, locations, like, how do I, yeah, but
What did you do before this, Ashley?
well, I'm an actress.
Oh,
I'm an actress and a musician, so it's like
those are your guitars?
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to tell you right now, you and Nathan and anybody else in the panel that's a musician,
Yeah.
you guys come down and tour the studio and we'll set up a jam.
Oh, sounds great. Love it.
All right.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm in.
Right on.
I'm in. Yeah.
That would sound good in there. That big
Oh,
space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. We'll have to
I
do
still got my drums. I still got my drum set downstairs.
Nice.
Perfect.
Yeah. Still play it once in a while.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Christoph, do you play? You gotta
Sounds
go.
like all you need is a singer.
Yeah.
Buddy, that's you.
Yeah, you know what? I'll do some karaoke, sure.
Nice. Yeah.
Little bit of liquid courage and anybody's a singer,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good time.
Yeah, it's all about relationships for us too, in terms of bringing people in. We
Mhm.
advertise on Instagram and all those kinds of places, but it really always comes down to personal relationships with people, with locations people and filmmakers and directors and musicians and bands, and kind of just constantly putting it out there. But what I think is cool about this group is we all sort of offer something different at this stage.
Yep.
And there's the whole idea of being collaborative, but we're also, I think it feels like anyways from the conversations I've had, we're all kind of going out of our way to not step on each other's toes and continue to, like Mike, you guys aren't going to open an Expendables shop at Aeon Studio or at Aeon Group, right? Like it's, we know that exists. So it's like, okay, what other kind of avenues can we explore to make sure that we're offering all of the things that are out there that are needed in the city. And that was definitely something that was important to us, is maintaining the relationships with people like Zach, who's right around the corner, and kind of focusing on that as a strength, that we're so close to each other. So if people are shooting at our studio and they need a place to eat lunch, or they need to go get Expendables, it's like, well, conveniently right around the corner there's this other place. Or if our place isn't the right fit, we're always really happy to kind of push people off into other directions, because it always kind of comes back. And they always say like a rising tide raises all ships, and I feel like that's been my experience in Hamilton from the moment I moved here. People are always looking to help each other out, and it was something that I kind of appreciated about Hamilton when I left Toronto 10 or 11 years ago. And so yeah, in terms of running my business here, it's always been kind of a similar mentality, and it's always worked. I've been here establishing myself for 11 years now, and that's always kind of been how I've decided to, my mandate basically is help out my other friends and not worry about the fact that they might steal the client or they might steal the work, because it rarely happens that way. It actually usually works out for the better. And my experience has always been there's more than enough work to go around, and it kind of helps everybody out. So I think that's kind of what separates us from maybe the more competitive areas where there's studios popping up and stuff, is that we kind of have that mentality here. Yeah, it's refreshing.
It
100%.
is.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's our same philosophy, as Christoph. Like, just we're all work together, and Hamilton really does, embrace teamwork, kind of, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, there's never, I've never felt any cutthroat here, really, in that type of, yeah, but for us, we work our asses off, really. Like, I wasn't in locations either. I was a grip. So I just have a lot of, 20 years of being in the business, just know a lot of people, kind of, and didn't really burn any bridges, wasn't really mean to anyone. So we have a lot of friends at HFS, and we try to get them to come and shoot here.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean,
you know what I think is, you know what is, you know what I think is great too, is that every time, whenever I talk to somebody, like before I really got to know you guys and that sort of thing, there was never a time when there was ever a bad word said about anybody that on this panel, you know what I mean? Unless somebody knows something about me, I have no idea. But as far as concerned, like everybody well liked. I think everybody's well respected, and I think that's like there's a real opportunity here. And I was going to suggest, I really apologize. I do have to go. I'm actually dealing with a family matter, but I wanted to hop in here and say, but I would be really interested if you guys were in possibly setting up some sort of monthly committee, or just like, go for a beer once a month and just chat all things industry and how we can continue to support and fill each other in on what's going on and all that sort of thing. Is that something that you guys would be open to?
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I'm glad you brought it up, Mike. I wanted to raise
Hamilton Studio Collective. Today is the day.
There it is.
I love it. Done.
Yeah.
Nathan, we're making history in your panel.
That's right. Guys, I'm sorry, I do have to go. It's a pleasure to meet you, Ash.
Yeah, you too, Mike.
Guys.
Absolutely. Take care and good luck.
Yeah, we'll send around an email and
we'll chat. I'll come see the spot.
Sounds good.
Bye.
See you, Mike.
Yeah.
So something that I wanted to ask you guys, and this is more of like I said, I got to pump up my pal, Mr. Mitchell, because he's done so much for me. We learn from our predecessors. Is there anything that you guys would have done differently when you were opening your studios?
That's a great question. I mean, we really still feel like we're learning. There's actually things that we thought we were going to do with the studio that we didn't do, and now we're glad we didn't do that.
Cool.
And certain other things where we kind of fell into by accident.
Yeah.
But honestly, our business plan from 3 years ago, we would laugh at it right now if we looked at it. Yeah, to be honest, we did a lot of just adjusting and figuring things out and what does work and what doesn't. We're still learning every day. So I don't know necessarily what I would have done differently, but it's a really good question. Maybe Christoph, you have a
I mean, it's hard for me because this is an idea that I had for a long time, but we actually got the keys to the building on March 1st of 2020, and everyone knows how the rest of that month went. So the first, 6 months, and we've been really fortunate that the people that we rent the space from, which is the Roque family, have been super accommodating and very understanding about, trying to get something like this off the ground during a pandemic. So I don't think we would have survived the last 18 months without their, generosity. So kudos to them. But I don't know. I mean, I guess the easy answer would be waiting a year, and trying again in 2021, but that just wasn't an option. We obviously couldn't see this coming, and the wheels were the momentum was already well established by March when we got the keys. Everything was, had been months in the making. It just was kind of unfortunate how things unfolded, but we've also, like you guys, Zach, have had to kind of make adjustments to how we operate. So that we could keep the doors open for the last 18 months when everything was shut down. And, now that obviously like the idea of a co-working space seems like a little bit further away than it did a year and a half ago. So just figuring out how to kind of figure out the interim until things kind of go back to normal has been a huge shift for sure. But we're really grateful that we survived up until now, and at this point, it's feeling like I'm feeling pretty optimistic about the future now, which maybe 6 months ago I wasn't so sure. So, but yeah, I think the original idea it's evolved. It hasn't necessarily shifted. It's kind of grown into something different. And as we see other places kind of popping up, it's like, oh, okay, so like how can we continue to be sort of like our own thing? And so for us, the focus has really been on becoming like a place that fosters filmmakers in the city, because traditionally, and like there's obvious reasons why this happens, but studios are kind of like a big iron building, and you can only step foot and go through all the levels of security if your name's on the call sheet, and it can be really intimidating for people who are just starting out, or who maybe couldn't afford to go to film school, or are newcomers to the city. And so we really want to make our place, and kind of like the Expendable Shop is an inviting place, and people can, if they aren't checking out the studio, they can still pop by and pick things up, and it's an essential thing that needs to exist in Hamilton. That's why we want to have the coffee shop component, so that whether people have a desk at the office or an office in the building, they still feel welcomed in the building, and it gives people an opportunity to collaborate in ways that you couldn't really. I mean, people go and work from coffee shops all the time, but it's not a coffee shop that's in a film studio where you're kind of surrounded by like-minded people. So
that's so
cool. I can't wait. We always talk about it over here. Like, God damn, wish Christoph had his coffee shop.
I know.
Yeah, I love it. I'm addicted to
I'm working on my latte art here though at home. So not that I want to operate the coffee shop for the rest of my life, but if I had to, I think I'm almost at the point where I could. Yeah.
Hey,
getting ready.
Everybody needs coffee.
Yeah, for sure.
I look forward to that.
No, that's huge. And you know what too? It's I love the idea of like a hub. It's weird. Many years ago, I don't know if Nathan was part. There's a guy you probably know, Jeremy Freiberger from Cobalt.
Cobalt Connects.
So I was part of this action plan in Burlington that was like herding cats, where we were all the artists in Burlington were like, where's the art gone? Like, there's no art left. It's like all old people and very vanilla and blah, blah, blah. So he really helped us try and assemble ourselves into a collective. And in my brain, I was like, what would be amazing? Some kind of hub, some kind of like studio type space that had like co-working and a coffee shop and somewhere you could play shows and somewhere you could like do photos and da-da-da. Literally, that's what you're describing. And I'm like, it exists. How do I go there?
It will.
I just want to go there. I just want to live there. So open the coffee shop.
Okay. Yeah, we're working on that. The nice thing is we're already zoned for that. We just have to,
Nice.
There's a lot of stuff
that's a big one.
To it.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to hear that that's something that you guys get excited about as
Well, yeah, because I think like, I don't know, if you were a grip and you worked in film, and like creative people are attracted to other creative people. So it's like, if there's a spot that we can all go and make cool shit, then,
it's true. We do together. It's kind of funny that way.
Yeah.
And anytime I'm on set and there's like another musician that's like on crew or something, it's like a magnet. You don't even know. But I'm like, they're like, hey, what's up? I'm like, what do you play? It's like you can just homing pigeon, right? But
I shot a feature last November, and we ended our last day was at what used to be the Brown Dog Cafe on Lock Street.
On Lock.
And so that was like where, we were there for a week and a half or whatever, and then we wrapped out and loaded the trucks and everything. And then, we kind of came back inside, and we had set up this small stage, and the art department was like tearing the whole place down, but they left the stage up. And it became this impromptu open mic night, and a bunch of people started singing. Few people did like did some comedy bits that they were working on, and we ended up staying there for like 6 hours after we wrapped. And yeah, I just noticed that Nathan mentioned speaking about the Factory Media Center as a tenant. So yeah, there is or there was, I guess, up until a month ago, this place on James Street North called the Factory Media Center, which was sort of what you're talking about. It's more of an arts, they have their focus is more on using media as an art form.
Yeah.
But they offered rentals and things like that, and they hosted events on Art Crawl and other times of the month too. And and they basically had to leave their current brick and mortar place because the owners sold the building. And through Jeremy, actually, we ended up talking to them. And once everything's up and running, and once we finally actually have a space in there, they'll be moving in to be with us too. And it'll be kind of our not-for-profit partner to be able to offer studio space and rentals and things like that to people who might not otherwise have access to it, which is a huge part of my mandate too. We would have tried to figure out a way to do that anyway, and we were hoping that the bigger players coming through and using the facilities would kind of help subsidize that for the local filmmaking scene. But now having the Factory Media Center as one of our sort of landmark tenants is going to really make sure that happens. And so yeah, we're excited to, it's made it interesting, especially because we've had to continually shift how, when our opening was going to be and when the construction would start and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they have very strict guidelines that they have to work within because they're a not-for-profit and they get a lot of their funding from the government. So,
yeah.
But so far everything's still on track, and hopefully by mid next year or so they'll be able to officially move in and operate out of there.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I remember I meant to reach out to you and say congrats on that because I saw the announcement and I thought that was a great match, man. And yeah, whatever you guys need, if you guys need any help with anything or questions about rentals and stuff like that, just hit us up and we can chat, maybe help you with that. But
I appreciate that.
Factory Media Center, I think that's better for them over there too. I found they were just a little hidden downtown there. I was always like, oh, there it is. And so now I think with having a real home base at your spot and like you being a real filmmaker, I think it's really going to help them a lot, and hopefully you too. So I think it's a great match.
Yeah,
I do think it'll be mutually beneficial. Yeah.
That's huge. I loved what they did there, and I went to a bunch of screenings and stuff, and I loved those nights there particularly. Because like Hammer City was right underneath, and I guess that was the same land or like building owner. So they had to close up too. It's sad, but it's like, well, okay, new phase.
Yeah, and I think long term it will, like you said, Zach, I think it will benefit them being in a building surrounded by filmmakers in a place where filmmakers are kind of going out of their way to show up. And I think it'll allow them to serve a lot more people too than historically they could. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Oops, my battery's gonna die.
No worries. We're pretty close to the. I don't know if we were gonna get cut off right at 12:15 or whatever, but you survived this long, so
yeah.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, we are getting close to the end here. I think it was great to hear you all speak on, so highly of each other and having those conversations. Hamilton has always kind of been that way where, everyone wants to see everyone else succeed because it does benefit everyone else. And I think that's fantastic. And one of the things that I get asked a lot through Lights Camera Hamilton is, where can I get of this? Where can I get of that? Where can I film this? And where can I, film that? Can you each tell us, as we're about to close, what kind of things you have at your studio? So, or what do you have access to? So if someone wants to film a this or this or this, can you tell us some of your showcase pieces that your studio has?
Yeah, so at Skylite, like I said, we're the decommissioned parts of Stelco. It is still an operating plant, so it is a little tricky to get in there. There's a lot of safety and security, but we have a couple kind of back lots that we are really excited about. Just off Industrial, there's one called Ponderosa, and it's like a 250,000 square foot, like just big tin building. And then we've got an old diesel shop that's really cool. It looks really neat inside. And then we have another area just off Gage that, again, it's more of like a lower ceiling warehouse. And then we've got this old abandoned 3-story office building that is like, you need zombie apocalypse with set dressing already intact. That's where you go, because it's like, you know, cubicles and fluorescent lighting that's like flickering and papers and desks on the ground. And like, it's a moment in time. So, and then we do actually a lot of like base camp parking. That's like a lot of our bread and butter. So if you guys ever get people that are like, hey, we need a base camp, I know we're only 5 minutes away from HFS. We've got, you know, great closed off secure lots that we rent out all the time. Yeah, one on Wilcox, one on Gage. And then, yeah, inside the plant, if people, it's more for like, you know, tier A, tier B kind of stuff, but we've got like a dock. We've got a blast furnace. We've got a pipe gallery that's all like I said, Blade Runnery. But yeah, anything post-apocalyptic or like crazy expanse stuff, hit me up. And you just,
Are you guys,
yeah.
is it part of that spot that's like right between Ottawa and Gage and right between the two directions of Burlington Street? Is that you guys?
Yeah.
Or part of it, I guess?
Yeah, that's
okay, yeah.
that's one of our back lots. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I drive by that all the time, and there's
Yeah,
always
we're
production
always
trucks
filming
in
there. Always filming. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, lots of like.
I tried to shoot.
Yeah.
I tried to unofficially shoot some BMW stuff there a couple summers ago. I got kicked out, but
Nice.
next time we'll know who to go to.
Yeah.
It might have been before you guys took over too. That
Probably.
was like 2019 or something. But,
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, and everything that we offer is online, and like it's on our website, skylightstudios.com. And I actually am the resident photographer, so I shoot everything for the Hamilton location. And if you guys need anything, or you hear people needing stuff like that, send them my way.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so right now, in terms of what we have to offer, if you go to evilempirestudios.com, I think Nathan put it in the chat, it's basically just a big empty warehouse with windows that face west. So you get cool sunbeams coming through in the evenings if that's something you're into. And it's basically just a giant brick building that's empty. It's got a lot of character. I've been told by people that it's great for recording sound because Walk Off the Earth shot a music video there last year, and they ended up re-recording the audio inside. They were going to, dub over it with a studio thing, but their audio engineer, who's part of their group now, was in there and, listening to the echo, and he's like, we got to re-record everything in here. So, and then we have tunnels, which kind of make it really interesting. So they're about 6 feet tall, 4 feet wide, and they have like an arched brick. There are photos on the website, but that's kind of one of the things that makes it different from a lot of other places, as well as this kind of spooky cellar, 9-foot ceilings with it kind of has like a catacomb feel.
Love it.
So that's what we got right now. Long term, there will be things like I said, hot desks and co-working and private offices and equipment storage, and then a few, different sized studios that'll be set up kind of as sound stages, basically, so it's fully insulated and everything, and with drive-in access, but that'll be probably a year or so down the road. But yeah, if you're wanted to check out what we have to offer, or get updates, it's all on the website. So
yeah, that's
check it out.
amazing.
Such a cool building, man. It's an excellent building. I love it. People talk about those tunnels all the time. Eh?
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, we're stoked on them. Yeah.
Tunnels in Hamilton. I'm like, oh yeah, I know the guy. But yeah, such a cool building. We're probably the least interesting space out of the three of us, that's for sure. We're kind of just an empty warehouse, 5,000 square feet, but it's actually not as easy a space to find in Hamilton as you would think.
Yeah.
Pretty clean, tall ceilings. We put a nice kitchen in, nice green room, and kind of made it studio-esque. Again, like going back to what I was saying earlier, like our original business plan was to put in the psych and the grid and go like that, spend the $100,000, and we're like, oh my god, and it just didn't. It hasn't worked out that way. People have more come in and done their own thing, building sets and making the space that work. Again, it's pretty quiet because we have no neighbors around here. But in terms of what we offer, it's become more about the rentals and the store for us. And when the studio gets rented, we're like, thank God we need rental there. But mostly we focus on our gear, our customer service, our expendables, stuff like that. And we get hits through TV shows, and they'll come in, they'll build sets and spend 6 or 8 weeks in here. And yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good.
So we come to the end of the film studio panel. I want to thank you very much for spending your morning here with us at the 16th Annual Hamilton Film Festival to tell us a little bit about what it is you're doing in the city and what things are to come. This is being recorded, so probably in a week from now I'll post it up on the Hamilton Film Festival YouTube page and Facebook so that everyone can watch this. If anyone wants to join us down at the Westdale Theatre at 1 o'clock for the talk with the most famous Canadian producer that no one knows, David Hamilton, who produces Deepa Mehta's films, and coming in for a chat. So I'm heading down to the Westdale now, and then we're back here at 3:30 p.m. for Real City. So we're talking to a bunch of local organizations that are doing things to make this this city better for the film and new media industry and television. So I want to thank you all for joining us here, and I look forward to seeing all of your work in the future, and definitely doing a studio tour, which I'm due for from all of you. I haven't seen any of these spaces yet, and I get a lot of questions asked about where they are and what they have in them. So I'd like to see for myself what's going on down there. So I'll be calling you all pretty soon, and have a great afternoon. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, Nathan.
Yeah,
Great
thanks,
to meet
Nathan.
you guys.
Nice to
Yeah,
meet you.
nice to meet you too, Ashley.
Take care.
See you later, Zach.
Bye.
Bye, guys.